Hey everyone, in this video I wanted to go over examples on how we can utilize Google Sheets or Excel to do calculations for us, particularly when finding measures of center or measures of variation. So I have a Google Sheet open right here, and I've just copied and pasted a column of data taken from your My Open Math homework. Now, each student is going to have a set of randomized data, so these numbers will be different for your particular problem, but the process is exactly the same. So I'm going to start in the right column here where I give you a data set, and the question is to find the average and the median of the data set at right. So we've talked about how we can find the average and the median by hand, but there's also a way you can do it with technology. I provided a yellow box here where I'm going to write my answer. Anytime I'm writing something in Excel, I want to start by writing an equal sign, and then I want to type in the particular command that I want. So the command for finding the mean is average. So if I start typing in this word, we can see all these different commands coming up. After I type in the word average, I'm going to do an open parenthesis to indicate that I finished typing the command, and now I want to highlight the data. So I'm going to click and drag until I get to the bottom of these numbers. Once I finish highlighting my data, I'm going to press close parentheses to indicate that I've finished selecting my data, and then I'm going to press enter. So we can see right here that the average of this column of data is 418.07. If I want to do the same thing with the median, I also start by writing an equal sign and type the word median, open parenthesis, and I'm going to try to, instead of highlighting every data point, I'm going to try this thing where if you click the letter where the column of data exists, it will highlight everything. And we can see that the median is equal to 416. Now I'm going to double check this. Instead of highlighting just the entire column, I'm going to go ahead and highlight my data set to see if it gives me the same value. And we can see that when I did that, let's see, I also got a median of 416. So this is a nice time-saving tip. Instead of clicking and dragging for every single data cell, you can just click the column where it exists. So we covered the commands for average and median. I also wanted to talk about measures of variation and how we can use Excel or Google Sheets to calculate that. So I have another column of data in the left right here, and I want to use technology to find the sample variance and standard deviation. Now, there are slightly different, there's one extra step when finding the sample variance versus the population variance. It depends on if you're dividing by the total number of data points or one less than the total number of data points. So the command is slightly different. However, you could calculate either using Excel or Google Sheets. So if I want to find the sample variance, the command that I would use is var.s. So var, like variance.s, is to indicate that I'm taking the sample variance. If I wanted to calculate the population variance, I would type in var.p. But in this case, I'm typing in var.s. Go ahead and highlight my data. And I can see that I have a sample variance of 112.89 units squared, because this is variance. Now, if I was going to find the sample standard deviation, I would use the command standarddev.s. Again, the .s because I'm talking about a sample and not a population. So I type in my equal sign, standarddev.s, highlight my data, and now I'm back to regular units, not units squared, and I have a sample standard deviation of 10.625. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is that one thing that Google Sheets and Excel is useful for is the fact that we can just use these tools as calculators instead of typing in particular commands. So let's say that I had the sample variance and I wanted to find the standard deviation. I know that the relationship between standard deviation and variance is that standard deviation is the square root of variance. So instead of typing in the individual command, I could have also just taken the square root of my variance answer. So the command for taking the square root is the command sqrt. So if I wanted to, I could have just typed in equals. I could have clicked the cell where my sample variance existed, or rather, let's take the square root of that first. So I would say, please take the square root. I'm going to open parentheses of this value, and I should be getting the same answer as my sample standard deviation, and here I have it. So hopefully this was helpful. Excel is extremely useful in expediting the process of calculating measures of center and measures of variation. And one thing that's really nice about Google Sheets and Excel is that even though Google Sheets is on the internet and Excel is on a word processor, these commands are almost exactly the same. So you should be able to use the same exact commands in Excel, regardless of if you're using a word processor or not.